trying to get through these summer months, and I'm telling you, it's just 2 more months maybe, and then we'll start getting into that more active weather pattern and the slow slide to winter. For this morning, let's take a look at what's been going on. You see a little bit of a new player here in the San Antonio area out to Del Rio. A little bit of low cloud there. This is at 10:15 a.m. this past morning on Tuesday. This is low cloud associated with moisture coming up from the Gulf. Very rich moisture with just enough radiation going on to be able to condense that into stratus. There's the symbol for stratus, and a little bit of fog. That's the symbol for fog. Sea breeze, as usual, getting going along the Gulf Coast about right there, and pretty much clear skies underneath that big high, which is probably lurking somewhere around the Red River Valley. We move forward through the day, and you can see that fog burns off, almost all gone by 1 o'clock. And then we just get the sea breeze. See it right there, lifting northward. Let me pick a different color here. There we go. So from about Lafayette to Lake Charles, and can't really pick it up much further west, maybe through the Houston area. You think we're going to get storms and showers out of that? See, right now this is 3:30 p.m. So not like we had on Sunday. You can see it's pretty benign, but you can see we're about to develop maybe a few showers right along the sea breeze. So it's going to be kind of iffy. But definitely stuff in the higher terrain because we got the southwest monsoon going with that slow incursion of moisture just priming things in New Mexico and West Texas. Then we close out the day getting out to 6 p.m. and we did get a little puff of an anvil right there just west of Beaumont and some more stuff near Lake Charles. And of course things really fire up in the Rocky Mountain region. So I'll start bringing up a few new products since we're starting to get, well, not quite out of the summer, but, we should probably pull up a few more. This is the radar shot. This is about 9:35 p.m. And that pretty much shows the extent of the monsoon moisture. See all that stuff right there? In fact, a little bit of activity out in West Texas right there. You notice anything unusual about this activity here? Well, for one thing, it is a line going from about Carlsbad up to around Dalhart to Amarillo. But see this right here, this feature? Let me try to circle that a little bit better. That's an outflow boundary. You're going to really see that start taking definition over the next few hours as I run this forward. And one little thing I'll show before I move forward. See that? That's a sun spike. Well, I don't know if that's a sun spike. That's pointing... No, that's definitely not a sun spike because, well, I don't know. This time of the year, I would expect that kind of point maybe this way. That looks a little bit too far to the northwest. That could just be some anomaly. I don't know. But 2:35, that's 9:35 p.m. Yeah, it's probably a little bit late for a sun spike. In fact, it persists, so yeah, that's definitely not what that is. But take a look at the outflow boundary. See that right there? I'm going to show you on the surface chart what that looks like. Because all that thunderstorm activity out over northwest panhandle of Texas, eastern New Mexico, it really pushes that outflow boundary out. And you can see it moves eastward at about 15 or 20 miles an hour right there. It's not going to have an effect on weather in Texas, but it's just kind of a new thing that we can look for on the surface chart. And we get up to about 1 a.m. and a lot of the stuff over the mountains kind of dies out like we would expect. It's normal for it to kind of persist into the wee hours, but the more organized MCS out in West Texas keeps going that'll probably keep going until about dawn or so. That brings us to the surface chart. If I can get it here. That's the old one. There we go. Surface chart for 1 a.m. and as usual I have plotted the high temperature in the lower right. That's the afternoon high right there. So 103 right there at Altus. And if I outline those hundreds, we got one little spot right there around Corsicana, another around Shreveport, and of course southwestern Oklahoma. That place is like a furnace. And we've got a little incursion of it into Kansas. So that's a little bit further north than we have seen over the past few days. West Texas, as usual, little bubble of hundreds and 104 right there at Monahans. In fact, there's sand hills. If you ever make it down to I-20 around the Monahans area, they've actually got sand dunes in Texas. That's well worth checking out. Not something you really see east of the Rockies, but yeah, we definitely have it. So you notice anything going on across this region, West Texas, Kansas, all that? We'll take a look at the discontinuity in the southerly flow. So let's follow these wind flags right here, these wind barbs, or not the wind barbs, but the wind shafts. That's pointing out southerly flow coming up from the Gulf, okay? So that's going up north. This stuff is going in, feeding into the monsoon pattern. But there's a discontinuity for all of this stuff at some point. Out here, it's where it impinges on this stuff at Lubbock and Hobbs. And as you've probably guessed, this is the outflow from that storm activity that we saw on the radar through this area. We've got more discontinuities. Let's see. Let's follow this southerly wind up north. And, hey, we hit some northerly wind right here in Kansas. So let's paint that out. And we can use this process to find the cold fronts and outflow boundaries and discontinuities and stuff like that. So there we go. And in fact, here's a good one right there. There's thunderstorm activity in Guymon, Oklahoma, around Pampa, Texas. So we can kind of correct this and maybe bring it a little bit farther south. And in fact, we can bring that all the way into West Texas around Fort Hancock. I don't really know too many of the towns down here. And all the way down into Mexico. That doesn't imply that this is all a cold front. That's not what this is. It's probably just a little outflow boundary driving south ahead of this thunderstorm activity. There is a real cold front. You can see those temperatures 74 there, 73, 65. That would be nice to have down in Texas this time of year, but fat chance of that. So the real cold air mass is probably lurking up here. That's interesting. 37 there at that little spot there in Colorado. I wonder what's going on there. 52. Yeah, there's definitely a little incursion of polar air through Colorado, it looks like. So maybe a little bit of dry air, kind of adding some dynamic cooling and some cool air coming from Canada. Kind of interesting. Anyway, I'll move things along right here and get back to that internet panel. So what's coming up for the next few days? Well, let's start with as usual, we're doing the 250 millibar chart. This is up at 34,000 feet. Okay, starting out this evening, we've got a upper level high, 250 millibar high over the Red River area, Oklahoma and Texas. Good polar front jet across the northern plains. See that right there? In fact, we got, looks like maybe 100 knot winds across the Dakotas. And we can see that there's a long wave trough. This is probably a long wave trough out over the Rockies. Long wave ridge across the eastern U.S., and because of that, we're probably seeing a lot of very warm weather across Michigan, the Great Lakes region, down in Ohio and Indiana. Well, what do we have for Texas? Well, we got this upper level high kind of shutting things down. Looking for easterly waves. You remember the easterly wave issue that we had over on Sunday? Don't really have that going on there in the Gulf. So I'm looking in this area right there. I don't see any like discontinuity in the easterly flow there. So let's roll it forward. Okay, going into, let's see, this is around Thursday. No, this is, okay, yeah, that's Thursday right there. So the upper level high kind of migrates westward into the West Texas region. Okay, not too much of a change there just yet. But as we start getting into Friday and Saturday, see the high kind of like wanders westward, and we start to see that polar front jet, the stronger upper level winds, start taking aim on Texas, at least on the eastern portions of Texas. So right there around Texarkana, Arkansas, starting to pick up a little northwesterly flow, and that's important because along the southern fringe of this jet stream, we tend to get afternoon and evening thunderstorm activity. And that tends to propagate through the evening hours downstream with the jet stream. And in this case, that would probably bring nocturnal thunderstorm activity into the Arkansas area. This would be, looks like Friday night. So not quite to Texas, but that's something to kind of keep an eye on right there. Then we get into Sunday. Look at that northerly flow. It's starting to kind of take even more of a aim on East Texas. So as we get into Sunday night and maybe Monday night, we'll have to start watching for the possibility of nocturnal thunderstorms in Oklahoma and East Texas, mostly east of I-35 towards the Louisiana border. Definite possibility of something in this area right here by then. And then going into next week, you can see that upper level high recedes westward. So we're going to start seeing the high temperatures back off from those hundreds, maybe into the low to mid 90s. We open up some very broad northerly flow into Texas, so we're going to see precipitation chances maybe hovering at about 20 to 30%, mostly in this area of Texas. Then getting into Wednesday and Thursday, wow, 50 knots right there, northerly flow in East Texas. So that's something to look forward to. The upper level high kind of heads out to Arizona, and we see this. This looks like a Tut low. By Tut, I mean tropical upper tropospheric trough. Where did that come from? Well, let me back the charts up a little bit. We're going to go to about Wednesday next week. See that right there? This is kind of breaking off from that westerly flow, starting in this Mississippi River Valley area. You're going to see it as I advance this forward. That's going to move kind of southwestward. So let me go ahead and do that. So now we're advancing to Thursday on August 6th and August 7th. Tut low going into southern Texas. That's not going to mean a whole lot really, but just another feature to look forward to. If it drifts more northerly than forecast, that could bring a chance of rain into the San Antonio, Houston, Waco, Austin area. But for now, this is pretty far out, so we'll just probably not worry about that too much. So anyway, we'll kind of watch out for increased chance of precip in East Texas going into early next week, and temperatures should moderate. Anyway, that's the Texas weather forecast. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night.